Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. It's Thursday, August 20th. I'm your host, Jose Galison. This is the kitty of the Jeff, one of two furry fellas in the Galison house, the rest being naked. This is a Sphinx outcross, as I like to remind you, and a fan favorite, our fat friend, the furry, our hairy homie. But with that, if you like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern, we're a little late today, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. Or if you just like seeing kitties as well, and make sure you hit that bell too. That way you can see when we're going live and when we're dropping new videos. With that, we'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. We have plenty to go through today. As always, we'll start the show off with some icebreaker content, some more on the fun, the funny, the gen pop, the slop, that sort of stuff, more on that side of things. Today's no exception, and then after that we'll get a little bit more serious, go over to the world of war, into our foreign policy roundup, see what's happening today, and then we will get into our first titled segment of the day, Temu Epsteins, kind of carrying off of our episode from yesterday. We did a Temu Epsteins one that after the fact got adjusted to Temu Epstein, since we didn't really get to any of the scenes. Any of the other ones there ended up basically just being an Andrew Tate coverage sort of segment. But today, this one will be focused around Trump a little bit and still getting into some of the other Temu Epstein stories. Perhaps. We'll see. You never know. Those might get scrapped to save for another day as well. And then finishing off, we will get into the Trump assassination plot, foreign policy shadow games. So kind of covering the connection between the assassination plots and Iran war. So we'll be digging into all of that and more. A little reminder, if this is your first time or you haven't quite got the shtick yet, a little reminder what this show is, the format. I call it an info dump format, throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. A lot of clips, articles, posts, stuff like that. A lot of times the stuff we're processing together for the first time. Think of it almost like a podcaster's homework, so I can keep up to date, and we're going through it together. This is meant to be a live interactive experience, but most of you guys don't end up showing up for the live, end up catching it later, and that's perfectly fine. I get why. And to accommodate you wonderful folks, what I do is I put timestamps in the video/podcast description that we can jump around from segment to segment, and you can also avoid the chat banter. I keep the chat banter at the end of each segment, so as soon as you hear that chat banter, just go down to that video podcast description and jump on over to the next one. Now, if you are here for the live experience, I do like to remind you guys that I try to give everyone at least one good morning. After that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. Wallet obviously being Super Chat, or alternatively, if you look in the top left-hand corner, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020, QR code right here. You got a whole host of perks over there, and one of them, let's be real, it's a tight-knit little community, so I'll show a little bit of bias in the chat, if you will, and you get to join a cool little group, got a Telegram chat and all that. But with that, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's go and get some icebreaker content, and then we'll crack into the chat after that. Today, Today, starting off, we have one of our politicians, one of the ladies in office, old Nancy Mace. She's stirring up some waves once again, as she is prone to do from time to time with some weird basic bitch nonsense. Once again, very much on theme. Apparently Nancy Mace has got 9 tattoos recently, and she just unveiled them all. I almost feel like I should get shirtless. I'm regretting wearing this now. This sweatshirt. I was cold when we started. Now I'm hot, and I don't have anything on under this. And I am not doing shirtless because I have some self-respect. But I don't know. It would be on theme if I took off the shirt right now to play the Nancy Mace game. She showed up in an interview like this, as you can see. Which, I mean, you guys know. I'm pretty damn tatted up. I don't care. It just seems kind of dumb, kind of gay, just some basic bitch nonsense. I mean, you look at these tattoos. I'm not going to overly analyze these, but I mean, they're just there's a handful of American traditionals, just kind of those they're kind of the tattoos you go into a tattoo shop and you go, I want that. And like something on the wall. I mean, I don't know. I can't really tell. Oh, I see a lion poking out on that left arm. So that's pretty. It just kind of comes off as basic bitch stuff. I mean, there's nice looking tattoos. I'll give her that. They look nice. I mean, they're bordering they're on the border of too much of those those where chicks will just get those little tattoos all over the place and it just kind of looks ridiculous. It's on the border of that, but I don't know. I think it's okay. But whatever. Who fucking cares? But I'll leave it to Nancy Mace to make a thing of it. But either way, hey, whatever. Now keep her in mind. I want you to keep this lady in mind. This is gonna come back full circle. I'm talking outro, for real. Think outro. We're gonna bring it back to Nancy Mace for this outro. There's an archetype of woman, and I want you to remember this. This lady you're seeing in the very beginning of the show. This intro right here. This is the same exact the archetype, the same exact archetype of the lady you're gonna see in the outro for today. If you remember that, keep that in mind. Probably give you a little bit of chuckle. But yeah, she got some tattoos. This is one of those ones that was just so weird. It looks like an AI thing. I initially thought, when this first came up on my feed, I was like, was this some sort of weird joke? Because I could see this being some sort of weird Nancy Mace joke of some sort. The internet does like to troll her from time to time. But no, it's legit. There's all sorts of multiple articles written on it. I saw some clips as well. I'm not going to bore you with those. But yeah, bitch got some tattoos. So cool. We got tattoos in the halls of power as well. Getting a little progressive with it. Although I think we're getting a little too progressive with it with this other story on multiple levels. There's levels to this story. This one's a wild one. The one I'm about to introduce to you right now. This one right here, a former University of Cambridge professor, Jason Arday, was found dead in a London home after plagiarism allegations. This was about a week or so ago. Give me 1 second. I'll bring it back up because, of course, StreamYard's glitching up on the audio pretty much off the jump. I think we got it this time. We got it. Here we go. So I got a little clip. But there's levels to this. There's levels to this. I mean, just look at it. I mean, just first off the jump, let's do the crass thing. This guy is, I said progressive. He's very progressive. This is one of those, I mean, just very feminine. I know I can't even really place exactly what it is. It's long hair, but it's just the stance. There's actually not even an overt thing that's really but you can just tell by looking. It just your radar goes off, the gay radar, the gaydar, just immediately off, just flaming to the point where he's borderline, you wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those drag sort of guys. Very feminine looking face very shiny. But anyways, just on the face, there's obviously, you can tell this is a progressive sort of guy. The plagiarism plays a part here and the clowning that occurs in the internet. But either way, let's watch this clip, get a little bit more informed on what actually happened here before we get into the analytics of the memery of it all.
I'm Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge.
3 years ago, Jason Arday became the youngest ever black professor appointed at Cambridge University, an 800-year-old institution.
Professor Jason Arday joins us now.
He was interviewed about the achievement on CBS News.
If I'm being absolutely candid and honest, not many teachers at school had any belief in me.
Now Arday has fallen from grace, accused of plagiarizing some of his academic writing and lying about claims he ran 600 miles in 6 days to raise money for charity. The scandal.
Okay, come on. 600 miles in 6 days. I guess theoretically it's possible, but I'm going to have to go call bullshit on this one. But who knows? Maybe, whatever. Maybe this guy is some crazy marathon runner. I guess it's theoretically possible, and they have super marathons. I don't know, this 600 miles in 6 days, that just does seem way too much.
It was front page news here in the UK, and the former professor of sociology of education has now resigned, saying in a statement that it should not be mistaken for an acceptance of the narratives that have surrounded him. Cambridge University says it's launched an investigation. There are now questions about Arday's autobiography, scheduled to be published this month.
How the fuck do you plagiarize an autobiography? That's pretty great. Either way, this guy killed himself. He's no longer with us, which tragic decision. Don't do that. Suicide bad, obviously. But there's levels to this. Like I said, there's like a meme aspect of this. This is one of these things that if like I used to be, a lot of you guys remember from Tower Gang days, just like the comedic aspect of things you look for. You almost are like, you're like, okay, what do I got here? You kind of listen. You're like, when you're crafting a joke in your mind, you're like, what are the elements of a joke here? And this is just one of those ones that just has so many different elements, and it's not even necessarily just crass. For example, off the jump, even just the plagiarism side of this. This is a banger. Preston Damsky says, did he kill himself or did someone else do it? And he's just taking the credit. So just there's lots of ammo to work with, lots of different angles you can play with. So there were lots of clever little puns that came of this. And as a result, this one has 41,000 likes. So you can kind of see it took off, got a little bit of legs. People had some fun with it, but a lot of people are like, yo, we can't be having that fucking fun. This guy is over in the UK. We know how they are about language laws. They have reached a new low when it comes to their censorship ridiculousness. Here is from change.org UK. Actually, I guess it's a petition. So I back up a little bit. Reminder, we're processing this in real time. I guess they haven't done anything, but apparently there's actually like currently a movement to, and do some sort of legislation or something to protect people from what is occurring right now to the dead man, Jason Arday. This is change.org UK. This is in the 22 days before his death. 249 articles were published about Jason Arday. That's more than 10 a day. Tia Lazaro James, has launched a petition on change.org calling on the government to protect individuals from media harm. So they're essentially lobbying the government to protect individuals from media harm. I don't know what. I guess there's some magical number of times you're allowed to mention someone. But yeah, I guess it's a petition to cap news coverage of any individual within a set time frame. A little quote here. It is crucial for a society to foster an environment where public discourse is informed, fair, and respectful, especially when reputations and lives are at stake. So they just want to arbitrarily temper the public discussion just because they feel uncomfortable about the things occurring. And like I said, there is obviously a little bit of a transgressive element here with him being, kind of, a member of the tribe. And I don't mean the small hat way. I mean in the woke sort of way, kind of shitting on this guy. But like I said, a lot of the jokes I saw really were just creative, just people having fun with comedy and just kind of noticing that there's a lot of different things to play with here. And as a result, you got a lot of good jokes out of it. So I didn't really think it was even all that transgressive. It was just kind of good fun. But of course, someone's got to save a hoe and leave it to the UK to do such a thing. Speaking of saving a hoe, I wish I could have been there for Hayden Panettiere. I wish he could have cried on my shoulder. But hey, here's her. Here's a little bit of an update on that. Apparently, we have her 911 call. We did a little coverage on the other day. There's a little bit of a segue here because when we covered the Hayden Panettiere, I actually don't think it was our Hayden Panettiere coverage that sparked this. But I guess I'm just kind of letting you know where this goes because I feel kind of almost disrespectful about this. But ahead of time, just a little disclaimer: anyone expecting serious Hayden Panettiere coverage. I mean, we have a little bit of a serious update, but before you expect that serious coverage, I'm just warning you here. I did do some semi-serious coverage, as serious as you're going to get on the show yesterday in a segment. So that's not where you're getting right now. A little bit of an addendum here, but this is really just a segue to get into talking about gender bending on the elite stage. We'll be talking about that a little bit because one of you guys, for some reason, I don't remember how it came up yesterday, But we got into talk about, like, in the chat about that, the idea of that the elites gender bend, and I'm completely hip with that. There's definitely a handful of them you point to, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? You're just trying to lie. You were just lying to me. You're telling me that this Bulgarian princess is 315 pounds of lean muscle at 10% body fat. Like, you're really trying to fucking tell me that's a chick? Like, are you fucking? Do you think I'm retarded? Like, does feel like this, like this almost like the subtle acceptance they're trying to get you to do when it comes to some of these elites. But I'm not quite fully schizophrenic where I'm like widespread everywhere. But that was the topic of discussion, that it was like, oh, all the elites are gender bent. Or maybe not necessarily like literally, but maybe at least an overwhelming amount, I guess, to do a little bit of callback to the gay little great debate, an overwhelming amount of gender bending. I think it's more just like a kind of handful here and there sprinkling in. Give it a century. As they try to trick the peasants, they'll sprinkle in some more. But I just think we're at sprinkle. But I don't know. Maybe they really have tricked me super hard. But I just wanted to put that out there before anyone expects some serious coverage in Petier. We have a little bit of a jumping off point that feels very disrespectful given the moment, but we're having fun here. It's not really so much her. It's awful. She was a mother. Definitely gone way too soon. Obviously seems to have been torn apart by her her fame, and definitely not something I would wish for either of my daughters. And I don't know, just something to think about, I guess, when we're taking care of our kids, and I don't know how we treat others as well. But either way, just a little bit of a hedging with some respectfulness before we get to it. But here is, on the serious side of things, here is the 911 call. Maybe we can glean some more information about what actually happened, but I've not really seen anything yet. But let's watch this.
Spawn in place like 29, Easley Bridge Road, overdose, CPR is in progress.
Everyone, Instant 2, respond for cardiac arrest, Justin Milwaukee, 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment. Everyone, Instant 2, respond for cardiac arrest, Justin Milwaukee, 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment. Central 1, minute 29, responding.
Central 1.
That's on Central 1.
That call, Alpha 43, call Central 1. Copy Alpha 43.
Spawn in place of medic 29, Easley Bridge Road, overdose, CPR is in progress.
Well, you heard it there at the end. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some crazy conspiracy afoot, but I mean, just overdose. That's what it said. CPR in process. Unfortunate, but all too common in Hollywood. But let's move on something that is I will agree, all too common, but I'm not quite ready to go to the extent that I think perhaps the wonderful individual tagging me these has gone. But either way, it's good fun and I love it. Here is Just Will, which I guess is a little casual reminder for you guys out there. You tagging me in some posts. A little casual reminder, you guys do help create this show. You guys contribute. You help produce by just doing simple things like this, tagging me and stuff. Makes it so I can cut back on my social media time, and makes it easier, gives me an idea of the sort of information you guys are interested in as well. It kind of helps out, it helps out all around. And we have this guy right here. We have Will helping out, Just Will at Captain Ron Says, helping out here. Tagging along, being a producer of the show. Now, I will say, though, Just Will, I'm seeing you're not following me, and I follow you, so that's going to change real quick unless you fall back there, bud. But either way, I still do appreciate the tagging and things. So let's dig into this one. So keeping on theme with Hayden Panettiere, let's look at a couple of photos. This is from I guess he's quote tweeting this person, Bill Facio. So here's some of the examples of I guess proof of some sort. We're playing the physiognomy game. Sorry if you're an audio listener. You really should just move on to the next segment. We're completely doing visual stuff here. But this is one straight-legged marching male gait. And then the thing I loved about this one, because I did peek into this one a little bit ahead of time. Like, what is this worth digging into? Even as a third point, I guess, it says male gait next to ex-spouse. Female to male, Vladimir Klitschko's female gait. So they're pointing out now they're also bringing her husband, or actually it was a husband or ex-husband. It was her ex-husband Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko. Here you can see he was he's a boxer. So there's like, this is a female gate. This is supposed to be proof that, which I don't know. We're just in weird schizophrenic territory here. Like, I'm sure, yeah, obviously you could find weird situations when someone's moving and looking more or less feminine. I mean, I don't know. I got to be real. Klitschko looks pretty. I'm looking at his frame. He looks kind of like a dude that's just in really good shape. No, okay. Anyways, 4 faked being pregnant, obvious moon bump, man face. So you see here, I guess they're using another example here, a picture of Hayden Panettiere. I guess the idea is, look how pregnant she is. It does look bizarre. I will give them that. She does look bizarre pregnant. This is a photo. They catch her at a weird angle. It does kind of make it look like, oh, this could be someone where like I could be convinced that this was like a I don't know, fucking movie where they put on a fake tummy and there was like prosthetics and makeup applied, and like I could believe that right here. Like something does seem a little bit off, a little uncanny valley about it, but I've also seen women in real life that are just crazy pregnant and they look kind of off because there is like this certain like period in women's pregnancy where they're like, they just get to a point where they're just, something's off. They do almost enter in the uncanny valley territory where like they just look weird. They're like eye-catching. You see them in public and you're like, well, holy shit, that bitch is pregnant. There is a little bit of that like thing that flags in your brain, like, what the fuck? Like there is, like, I swear it's like the last week, or sometimes when you see people with like twins or triplets, or they're like, you're like, I don't know if it's just some voice in the back of your head like that's not right, or like you're just aware of like, oh no. I mean, on a deep biological level, if you have someone getting ready to give birth in your tribe or whatever, or even not in your tribe, that's a significant event you should probably be aware of. So it does kind of make sense. There's some weirdness there. But yeah, okay, let's go back. Here's another one. This is probably the one that doesn't do her the most favors. It's a straight leg marching male gait. I will give it, but she's wearing ridiculous clothes here. Like, look at the fucking top of the suit. Like, even it's literally this weird squared, like shouldered thing that's just making her look hyper squarish. And then you have these weird dress pants in the most baggy of man sort of ways. It's very like, it looks like a male cut of like a dress pant, not even like a female cut. Not doing herself any favors. So I'm not seeing anything here. I will give you, Hayden Panettiere she always had that weird like gymnast build, where you were like, if she is one, if you're going by physiognomy or body build, like I could kind of get it. She's definitely has a weird build. Let's see what other schizophrenic shit we have to look at just for the fun of it. Here's Will again saying it goes so deep. Let's look at these pictures. Who is this? This is Jack Nicholson. So we get these skull ones. These are always fun. These are fun. These skull things, where you put the little, I guess, a picture of a skull over it, which, okay, like, I don't know how accurate these are, like people, because they do these things and they go, oh, this is totally, they'll put like a female skull and a male skull next to them. The thing is, too, whenever you're dealing with these physiognomy, like skull things or anything like that, like, this is something I've learned from some of my weird deep dives into like dinosaurs and this and that, like, I mean, you look at some of the different hominid species and look at the skulls that they provide. This is actually something you'll see some racial humor about occasionally. Pretty lowbrow, pretty easy there. But you look at the different, like, I don't know, Denisovans, the different versions. You look at the skulls or whatever, and you kind of look at like the human recreation of them, and they look pretty similar a lot of times to humans. And even then, a lot of people joke like, hey, this looks like that race, this looks like whatever. But even then, there's like a wide range. That range itself is kind of a display of, you look at Homo sapiens and you think about the wide range of skull shapes just in Homo sapiens, and we use one anecdotal example of one other, hominid sort of species. It's like you can really only base so much on it. There's a wide variation even in just skulls. This does vary among races. This varies even among individuals. So I would assume when you look at these, like, these diagrams, these male, female skulls, they're probably just the most, like, general approximation of, like, male and female sort of thing, or, like, your average human skull type of thing. So I don't put much stock in these, but either way, they're fun schizophrenia. You see here, they show Jack Nicholson. Here's a female skull. Everything matches up perfectly fine. You see his eyes match the eye sockets. His jaw matches up. You put the male skull, and things are off. Although I would say it almost looks like if you just moved the male skull down, it would match up. So this is another thing too, where like, I don't know, this just seems like schizophrenic stuff. But this is sort of stuff that you see in the feed. Here's another one. They do this triangle thing all the time, which I guess is supposed to show. Any of the physiognomy homies in the chat, feel free to chime in if you want to add some more commentary. Just glancing through these because I find these fun. I find this. Here's another one. Chelsea Clinton, which I don't think she's a dude. I could believe if she's a dude. I know a lot of people have pointed at this Adam's apple. Here's a pretty rough Adam's apple. People thought she's a dude. But did it not shift over? It didn't even shift. What the hell? I just realized it didn't shift over for a couple of those. Oh, well. You didn't see the Jack Nicholson skull. Here you go. I'll show it to you again. I just realized it didn't have it on it since StreamYard's being a little bit weird still. All right, now here's Chelsea Clinton. Look at that. Look at that gobbler. Look at that. Look at that little giblets right there. Her little Adam's apple poking out. It's frankly, this is literally a picture being pulled out to make it look bad, and it's not that bad. I've seen worse, I've seen worse Adam apples of women that I'm pretty confident are women. So I think Chelsea Clinton's just kind of a busted broad, to be completely honest. She did not get the hot aura of early Hillary. She got kind of the busted older Hillary gene somehow. She kind of got the somehow just skipped young hot Hillary and just went into busted old Hillary with some sort of weird combination of Bill in there as well. So unfortunate for Chelsea, but I think a lot of these are just ugly people and schizophrenia is what we're dealing with here. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys think in the chat. Just had a little fun time digging through some of these weird schizophrenic things. Let's get to foreign policy here in a second after we roll the chat. Check with you guys. What do you guys think? I mean, I don't know. I feel ridiculous. But it's fun, I guess, in a weird schizophrenic way. Let's check it on you guys. Good morning, user chat head. A little follow-up on the Suboxone discourse, or not Suboxone discourse, on his rehab discourse. It says it wouldn't let me in since I take Suboxone, so I get another day of dump. So I found a better rehab in Houston. People's opinion of Suboxone is ignorant. All right, well, I'm glad to see you're doing well. Hope you stay strong with or without rehab, but definitely get that help if you need it ASAP. Actually, I'm going to ditch you guys 1 second. Sorry, I am sweating in here, and I know I joked, do the Nancy Mace, like, here's me with no sleeves, and that's so weird, the reveal. She was kind of doing the little engagement ring, when like a chick has a ring, and they're doing like this thing, but with her tattoos. I have more self-respect than just take my shirt off, so I got it. It's too hot. I should have known better than to think I'm going to get through this whole episode. I was actually legitimately cold. Now I'm fucking dripping sweat. So let me go get a shirt real quick. I can't do this. I just can't. It's restrictive. The sleeves, it's like I'm being choked. But I'll be right back. Give me uno momento. I'm going to go put a shirt. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I should have been smarter. That was a silly goose move on my part. Let's get to the chat. Good morning, Fire Pixie. Good morning. Good to see you here as always. Good morning, Mulgera. Saying good morning. Happy 91st birthday to the legendary Dr. Ron Paul. Can't wait to see him in DC in September. Yeah, I really need to jump on. I've always had an idea for an episode to do with Ron Paul. But I never really pulled my strings and grifted quite hard enough to get one. I really could. I know I could. Like, I just always feel weird about certain things. Certain things just feel like there's a social taboo to it. But I know you kind of got to do it. For example, I've always wanted to get Ron Paul on just because I do like him. But and I have a specific idea for an episode in mind. You guys may remember one of the things I initially did way back when was a theory thing. I was actually doing individual episodes for each segment of the Anarchist Handbook. And there was a specific one. I can't remember the name of the guy off the top of my head. It's kind of a lesser known guy. But there was one chapter that I thought was perfect for Ron Paul, and I was like, so I wanted him to read. It's also a really short thing. It was only like a couple of pages essay or something. So I don't think it'd be too much to ask somebody like a Ron Paul to read that real quick. And I knew it kind of lines up with a lot of his vibes. So we'd have a lot to talk about it. So that was always my idea. But I always knew like, probably could just hit up like Daniel McAdams. I know we're mutuals. I've had him on before. I probably could be like, hook it up, but it just feels gross to be like, hey man, can you hook me up with somebody? You always just kind of feel like, but he is getting old. So it is kind of like I am literally working with limited time. So I should probably pull on those strings at some point, maybe some point soon. Although I'm not going to lie, I've been pretty disappointed with the direction Malice has gone these days, but hey, the Anarchist Handbook was a pretty good, pretty unique little thing he put out there, and I still think it's cool to do stuff like that. So that would be what I'd do if I was able to get Ron Paul on the show. But happy birthday to him! I guess just a reminder to me that I need to one of these days I need to follow through, maybe pull some of those strings, do a tad bit of grifting to make something happen. And that would be a fun episode, I think. Good morning again, Fire Pixie from the other side. Good morning, John Black, saying Jose has sleeves no more. Then we have abolished the sleevery, baby. Good morning, Tara Jackson 420. Good morning to you. Good morning, hey, say what now? Good morning. Tara Jackson just got out of rehab too. We got like a whole rehab community here. We should start like a rehab group chat or something. Actually not the worst idea, although it likely would just evolve into like drug stories and where you can get drugs as opposed to staying strong group. But if you guys are going to stay it strong, I support it. So good morning. Leave it to Tom Woods to do an episode on literally fucking everything. I'm assuming you're referring to the progressive guy, the suicide dude just a minute ago, the plagiarism story. He's saying Tom Woods did an episode on it. So if you want further deep dive, I guess go check out Tom Woods' channel. Good morning, Tom33 said on CPT today myself. So running a little late as well. Good morning. John Black giving a casual reminder to not say the no words. It is what it is. What can I do? I can't control my words. Like it's like if anyone's ever seen Trailer Park Boys, there's that one scene, I forget what season or movie or whatever. It was the one where he's like on the stand and he keeps swearing. And then they're like, objection, your honor, or whatever, disorder in the court, and whatever the fuck the court terms are. They say, like, basically, you can't be just saying fuck, shit balls in the court. That's like, that's not allowed. And then he's like, essentially what he's like, your honor, like I can't remember exactly, but it's like essentially like I can't talk right. Essentially, I'm not gonna try to say it right because it was funnier the way he says it. But essentially, the idea is like I literally can't talk right. Like if you want me to give you a good presentation, or you want me to give you this information, you gotta let me swear and you gotta let me smoke. I don't need to smoke, but I do need to swear and I do need to say all the no words, because the no words are the things I talk about the most. So the Jews, the CP, the kids getting diddled, all the things. So I'm not going to bother. I'm never going to be the grifty type. It is what it is. I just can't. I am literally just incapable of doing it. Too autistic to start. We get the too retarded to stop. I'm the too autistic to start. So not going to start now. So, but yeah, I definitely not the worst suggestion. But if I'm thinking too much about not saying child rape, then I'm going to find it harder to focus on the substance of the story of child rape. So you see the conundrum I find myself in. It is what it is. I'll just get used to having not a lot of views. This is why the Rumble's been doing fairly well. I've been noticing the live is, kind of now gotten significantly, generally more than YouTube. So it does look like YouTube's playing some weird squirrely games with me. That did not used to be the case in the past. So, hey, it is what it is. Let's keep going. Fire Pixie saying Hayden died about 25 minutes down the road from her. Yikes. Bummer. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Yep, we did not save the cheerleader. Yep. Tom33 says, I got a cousin with man face. It ain't her fault. Maybe it is, though. She is a bitch and a cop. Yeah, he's like the whole analyzing pictures for tranny shit is tiresome. Yeah, I mean, it's I guess, sort of fun in exchange, but yeah. Good morning, JC. Good morning. What else we got? User chat ad says, thank you, Josh. Seriously means a lot. It's been a rough few days with the benzos, alcohol, and shrooms. Yeah, definitely lay off. I would not recommend any of those. The shrooms, I mean, I would not recommend for your given situation, but yeah, definitely the other two, basically almost in no situation. Alcohol, maybe just socially, but yeah, definitely hope things work out for you, man. Really, really rough stuff. I definitely remember addiction. It's not fun. So hope it works out. Hope you get together. I'll try to be here for you in whatever way we can. Good. Chair Jackson pointed out cookbook or handbook. What should I say? I meant handbook, I think. But there is obviously the Erica's cookbook, and then the Erica's handbook, the Michael Malice's one. Mulk Harris says if you could get Dan McAdams unblock me, that'd be cool. No idea what I got blocked by. Well, he's kind of in the same boat with the too autistic thing as well. He's gone into it with me once. I know one time he got pretty upset with me, and this was after I'd had on my show, we're mutual, so I think he let it slide with me because this was actually before I really got more up and knowledgeable on the Israel stuff, and like I hadn't even read like Coming to Palestine by Sheldon Richmond? Why am I struggling with his name? Now I forgot his name all of a sudden. Anyways, Sheldon Richmond? There you go. I hadn't even read that yet. And then I just kind of made a joke because it was like when it was all kicking off really early. And I was kind of like, what did I say? It's like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, I just hope both teams have fun or something or something like that. It's just a dumb joke. Obviously, it was not an endorsement of the war. I've been very clear. I'm anti-war throughout. It was just a dumb joke. And it honestly was like a commentary how it became like quickly devolved into this weird team politics thing. But Dan obviously didn't get the meta commentary I was having, and that it was obviously a joke. And I remember him getting upset about it. So yeah, it happens. The autism happens. I'm sure whatever you were doing, you weren't probably meaning to, piss off Dan. I have no idea what you could have possibly done. But yeah, sometimes I think there's some of that like tism to where like he misreads the situation. And I do think stuff like this happens with Dan. So, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. So who knows? If I ever have Dan on again, remind me. I would definitely have no problem telling you to unblock you. So let's keep going. What else we got? Good morning, Nor. I think I already said good morning to you, Northside, but good morning again. Says, could Tom Woods have killed him and framed him for the suicide? He could have. He is part of that Ivy League gang, So... exactly. You know what? Tom33 nailed it. He says that's the conundrum I find myself. The more as I get wrapped up in glee with doing it, then I do I have like a pullback moment where I'm like, wait, there are people who legit take this shit seriously. And when I say take this shit seriously, I don't mean in the way that I take it seriously, and like think some here and there, but in the like they're literally looking at this specific image of like Jack Nicholson or whatever and being like, that's totally a bitch. And it's like, okay. Sure. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, once you realize, there are people who take this seriously, it does make it a lot harder to be like, ha ha ha, and have fun with it. Good morning, user. He says, Catherine Austin Fitz said Navy mandates mRNA jabs under Bibbit, Trumpstein, and RFK jabber. Okay. So you're saying Catherine Austin Fitz, she says that they mandate it? Yeah, they did mandate it. I guess I'm a little confused when you're getting at, but either way, appreciate you having you here, brother. Let's go ahead and get into some foreign policy. Let's check in on what's going on in the world of war, the latest going on there. Let's check in the latest of the kind of the back and forth between Iran and U.S., mostly just U.S. at this point. It's kind of Iran mostly just ignoring us, but Trump's got another threat for us. He's moved off the warfare threats. We're getting into the economic threats. So Trump says he's launching the most crushing economic operation ever against Iran. Trump said on Wednesday night, said that he was launching what he described as the most crushing economic operation ever against Iran and threatened the economies of any countries that do business with the Islamic Republic. No one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran a greater opportunity to make a deal than me. Tragically for them, they have failed to take it. Therefore, today I am announcing the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale, the president wrote on Truth Social. Today I am announcing that any country that allows its financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences: oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, ship registries, front companies. It all needs to stop now. You know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day. It's unclear what the potential new sanctions will entail, but going after countries that do business with Iran could mean targeting China, which has the ability to apply countermeasures to the U.S. A day after Trump's announcement, the UAE, which has been more aligned with the U.S. and Israel during the war than other Gulf states, said that it was cutting off all trade with Iran, citing an alleged missile attack. For its part, Iran rejected the claim that it launched missiles at the UAE, suggesting it could have been a false flag. Completely believable. Trump's announcement came as his administration has pivoted back to focusing on economic pressure against Iran on top of the U.S. military blockade on Iranian ports after failing to get Iran to capitulate during the last round of strikes. Iranian officials have denied the idea that further economic sanctions will make an impact on their negotiating position, and IRGC officials have suggested Iran may go on the offensive if the U.S. tries to make the current situation a new status quo. So, we're moving to economic warfare, which they were already doing before anyways, but trying to step it up another notch. In a kind of weird, I guess hypocritical, maybe not quite be the right word, but I don't know, paradoxical, maybe I could say, but a good thing. We have Trump saying he intends to meet with North Korean leader Kim this year, so more positive overtures toward the North Korean regime. So that's a good thing. I'm always for those that lord above us in shadow to get along to the extent that they don't murder their fucking peons. That'd be cool. And this is usually a sign of less of the murdering, less of the economic or the nuclear fears, I mean. Trump said Wednesday he plans to meet with Kim Jong-un sometime this year, though Pyongyang has not confirmed that Kim is interested in talks. I get along with him well, Trump said, according to the Washington Post. And you know what? The fact that they get along with him, that's a very good thing, not a bad thing. President also said that North Korea possesses 57 powerful nuclear weapons, which aligns with estimates that have put Pyongyang's arsenal somewhere around 60 warheads. So I think you might kind of get what I'm getting at. I mean, we just talked about Iran, and then now we have him even bringing up the nuclear weapons. Trump himself even brings it up. He even mentions it, says, I love this guy kind of stuff. Like, hey, this is great. So we have all this economic warfare and all this, and you have this other country that, it was pretty recent memory where this guy was in basically the same exact sort of nuclear situation as Iran currently is in now. So just kind of funny. Just kind of funny how things work. Kind of makes you wonder, why wouldn't Iran want a nuclear weapon? But Kim Yo-jong, the sister of Kim Jong-un, said on Wednesday she was unaware of any communications between her brother and Trump, but did say the two leaders will have an excellent relationship following their face-to-face meetings during the first Trump administration. U.S. and South Korea said on Wednesday the ongoing Ulchi Freedom Shield war games would be reduced to 5 days instead of the 11 days initially planned, after Trump announced he would substantially reduce the military's drills due to his very good relationship with Kim. Kim Yo-jong said that Trump's announcement didn't mean anything since the military exercises are still taking place, though it's unclear if her statement came before or after Washington and Seoul decided to cut them short. It says, we are paying more attention to the fact that joint military drills between the U.S. and the ROK have been steadily staged and are still underway, not to the reduction or shortening of individual drills, and we are correctly seeing through the fact that this is an obvious expression of their obvious hostility toward the DPRK, she said, according to North Korea's central news agency. If the U.S. calculates it can propagate its recent measure as one of so-called good faith, they will not get the desired answer. I mean, I can see what they mean, but it sounds like she hadn't got the news yet. Sounds like, yeah. She said that while her brother has good memories and feelings about Trump personally, the U.S.'s hostile policy toward North Korea hasn't changed. Trump said he was reducing military drills because of his good relationship with Kim, and his post came after South Korean President Lee Jae-myung proposed direct talks with North Korea. After Trump's announcement, Lee said he hoped the effort would lead to fruitful dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang, and he reaffirmed his push for South Korea's military to become more independent of the U.S. So I'm all for that. I'm all for normalizing the relationships between the governments here, and I would also be for reigning in Israel. That'd be cool. Here they are with another slaughter in Gaza. 2 days in 2 days in a row, I think, at least. So we have 10 Palestinians killed in the past 24 hours from Israeli strikes. So Israeli strikes in Gaza on Wednesday killed at least 10 Palestinians as the IDF continues its constant violations of the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal, despite the U.S. announcing a Hamas disarmament plan. 9 of the victims, including a 13-year-old girl, were killed by an Israeli strike against a police station in Gaza City, marking the second large-scale massacre in 2 days. On Tuesday, the IDF bombed Gaza City's crowded seaport, killing at least 6 people, including a child. A Hamas official told the Qud news network the seaport strike targeted Hamas members who were meeting to discuss disarmament to implement the U.S. plan for Gaza. The ramped-up Israeli attacks in Gaza came after Netanyahu met with Kushner, who's been leading Trump's efforts on Gaza. According to Israeli media, the meeting ended with an agreement that Israel will continue striking Gaza, even though Hamas said it was committed to the U.S. proposed disarmament plan, which Netanyahu has rejected. The strike on the police station on Wednesday killed multiple police officials, including Fatan al-Sahar, the head of Gaza's women's police department. Hamas condemned the strike as a new war crime and called on the U.S. to take a clear and firm stance against this dangerous escalation and pressure Israel into complying with the peace deal. Gaza's Interior Ministry said that by targeting the police station, Israel was attempting to dismantle the police force in order to spread chaos and making baseless claims to justify its crimes. Separate Israeli strike killed a Palestinian in the Nusrat refugee camp in central Gaza. Israel claimed without evidence that targeted a Hamas platoon commander, but regardless of who Israel targets, each strike is a violation of the October 2025 ceasefire deal. This brings it up to 1,273 Palestinians that have been killed since this October ceasefire deal went into place. And then we also have got an admission from Israel from some of the horrendous shit they did not that long ago. This is 2 years later. Many people may remember this horrific occasion. And I mean, I think we may have played some of the videos on the show, and it's just one of those ones you dig into a little bit, and it's just like, it does not take much digging for anyone with any semblance of emotions to fucking start tearing up. And you do not need to dig too much in the story. This story is super fucked up. Hind Rajab, but yeah, Israel's admitted that its forces fired on a car that was carrying 5-year-old Hind Rajab, who was killed by the IDF along with 6 members of her family as they were attempting to flee Gaza City on January 29th, 2024. So they've just now admitted this. Hind was the only survivor of an initial attack on the vehicle and was surrounded by 6 dead family members as she spent hours on the phone with the Palestinian Red Crescent Society pleading for help. The PCRS waited until it had authorization from the Israeli military to dispatch an ambulance to the area and sent it along a route provided by the IDF coordinator of government's activities in the territories. Despite the coordination with the IDF, once the 2 Palestinian paramedics arrived, they were fired on by Israeli tanks and killed. So from the jump, you get this essentially, I don't know if they've mentioned it, where we're at now, but essentially, like, basically all the family was killed pretty much off the jump, except for Hind Rajab and her little cousin. Paramedics arrive, they get killed by Israeli tanks. So it says Hind was still alive after the blast that killed paramedics and was speaking on the phone with her mother. The PCRS lost contact with her shortly after. So sometime during all of that, her cousin dies as well, and it's just her left. So nearly 2 weeks later, after the IDF withdrew from the area, the body of Hind, her 6 family members, and the paramedics Yusuf Zieno and Ahmed Al-Madhoun were recovered. So it's like, I think it was 12 days, but about 2 weeks later, so 12 days later, they were able to collect the body of this little girl, this 5-year-old girl, which, not to make it gruesome, but just think about how atrocious all of this is. And then on top of that, whoever maybe exists in this world that loved her had to go and I don't know if they maybe they were spared from seeing the body somehow, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what a body looks 12 days later, but I'm sure not great. And someone loved this little girl. So awful shit. They also admitted to one of the attacks on what was it? I forget which was it? World Central Kitchen Workers, which is another one that's a parody level, almost cartoonish. If it wasn't so evil, it was just quick summation of this one. This was these aid workers. It was 7 of them, 1 Palestinian, 1 American Canadian, 3 from Britain, 1 Australian, 1 Polish. But yeah, they were essentially in an aid car, clearly marked cars, 3 separate cars, because the cars essentially got struck multiple times, and then they would swap cars, I guess, in the hope that somehow getting in a different car would work. And so essentially 3 separate cars, I believe each one of them was marked. So just kind of sequentially, boom, 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 airstrike, 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 until every single one of them is dead, multiple cars. So, but yeah, so they admitted that one. Another thing they at the time were essentially kind of acting like wasn't true. Oh, there's no way they would do such evil, horrific shit. By the way, also with Hind Rajab, I do want to make it very well known that like when those paramedics came and all this stuff, people knew. So they literally made all this stuff arranged for paramedics to come and help, and then murdered their paramedics, and then also murdered this little girl. So apparently, I didn't read the part where they said apparently they are saying they're opening an investigation, but I wouldn't hold my breath. This is just kind of what they do years later. They admit the absolute most horrendous shit one could possibly even think of. I'm sure in a couple of years we'll get admissions they were raping people with dogs in their prisons, and we'll open an investigation and nothing will probably come of that. So just absolute evil, and more evil but in a slightly lesser degree, I guess, compared to all of that. 2 killed in southern Lebanon as Israel continues heavy demolitions. So still fucking around over there. So 2 people were killed in the southern Lebanese town of Mei Fadoun when they came upon unexploded ordnance left behind in a recent Israeli operation against the area. This brought the number of confirmed deaths in this year's invasion of Lebanon to 4,346, with over 12,000 others wounded. Israeli strikes were also reported today against the nearby town of Mansouri, causing a fire, as well as overnight against a home in a residential neighborhood of Nabatea al-Faqwa. The house was destroyed, but what casualties were inflicted are as of yet unclear. Israeli operations today, however, were principally focused on expanding the level of destruction across the south, with mass demolitions reported in multiple towns, using both localized ordnance explosions and artillery shelling against the buildings. In the village of Zatwar al-Sharqiya, I totally fucked that up, the demolition centered on civilian infrastructure, with forces leveling a 4-story schoolhouse, as well as a nearby clinic and nursery. Town hall has reportedly also been totally destroyed. Demolitions were also reported for the southland town of Talosa and the village of Hula. Those areas are under forced evacuation orders, so exactly what Israel is demolishing is generally only confirmed after the fact with satellite imagery. Explosions, however, were heard in both towns. Lebanese officials continue to talk about a planned post-war reconstruction, but as the extent of the destruction continues to grow daily and Israel seems to be setting up for a semi-permanent occupation of the area, it's not clear what the scope of the operation or when it will be able to begin. I would guess it's likely they're planning on accelerating it into a Gaza sort of situation. And much like that, I think with the situation in Syria, they're probably planning on accelerating that into a Lebanon sort of situation at some point. You kind of see the game plan. You see the plan playing out at multiple levels on multiple one of their neighbors simultaneously. It's kind of interesting how that works. We have a large Israeli deployment reported in southwest Syria. Forces push into Rif Damascus. So with growing numbers of incursions reported by Israeli forces in the southwest Syria, the latest incidents are noteworthy, both for being unusual in size and in one case for going far deeper into Syria than previous operations. Dozens of Israeli soldiers, supported by at least 15 military vehicles, entered Syria today and headed into the town of Jabata al-Khashab. The troops raided and searched multiple homes en route and captured at least 2 people. There is no word on what the 2 were detained over, nor is there likely to be, as generally people captured by Israeli forces just disappear into the Israeli system for weeks or even months on end. 3 Syrians were released from Israeli custody today back into the Quneitra government, because they've been doing these too. They've been regularly just abducting random Syrian civilians for what? We don't really entirely know. This is following nearly a full year in captivity, so a little bit of an insight in what some of these people just disappear experience. A full year in captivity, probably getting raped by dogs alongside some of the Palestinians. The reasons for their initial detention, and indeed for their eventual release, were never made public. Families of the missing detainees held a rally outside of UNDOF, UNDOF headquarters only yesterday, noting that there's little to no info on the fate of their relatives, and some of the released had reported detainees still held in struggling health. UNDOF, for its part, held the tour of Al-Rafid in Quneitra today. That town is regularly raided by Israeli forces, and the UNDOF were taking testimonies from locals regarding the incursions, which are becoming increasingly common. Shelling was reported in the area of Saida al-Golan. Israeli forces also reportedly entered that village, though in this case no detentions were reported. But to the north, the infiltration got even deeper. Israeli troops reportedly got all the way to Talat Bat al-Warda in Rift Damascus Governorate, though this is not the first time forces have advanced this far north, is extremely unusual, and as with most other operations, this is coming without any statements from the IDF regarding to what end they're doing. Makes you wonder what our greatest ally is up to over there. With that, let's roll in the chat, say some more good mornings, checking on you guys, and then we will get into the Temu Epsteins. Mulgera saying Dave DeCamp's going to Italy. I'm so jealous. He'll be back next Thursday. Yes. So if you notice a little bit of downturn in the quality of your foreign policy coverage in the next week, blame Dave DeCamp, because normally my process here is I listen to his show in the morning, which is a little 30-minute roundup of all the different stories going on over at antiwar.com. And then then when I set up for the show, I go over to antiwar.com and then I pull the specific, pieces, and I'm like, feel like the most relevant for today for the audience here. And then we cover it. So I get a little bit of an insight from Dave, get a little bit of a brush up. So I'm a little bit informed coming in on the foreign policy stuff, a little bit more than a lot of the stuff that we cover typically. So yeah, there you go. But I hope he has a good time, and we'll still be covering it. We'll just be pulling straight from anti-war and kind of be flying more blind. And Mulgera says the Hind Rajab call fucking broke me. It's so awful. Yeah, it's awful. It's just the worst. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you here. John Black says, I'm sure Kyle will be holding down the fort anti-war. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have, didn't say anything about anybody over at antiwar.com. But whatever. I get it, but hey, whatever. Maybe something for the future. Get one of those guys to do that. But yeah, I'm sure we'll still be getting pieces. They'll still be getting, just to be clear, for anyone who's curious, maybe misled, you still will be getting the daily anti-war coverage, even with Dave DeCamp gone for the week, since he's normally one of the main contributors there over at antiwar.com. So Kyle Anzalone over the Libertarian Institute and some other people will definitely be picking up the slack for him in the meantime. There just won't be his YouTube show, so a little bit less informed, but still we'll have anti-war pieces to break down together. But with that, let's go ahead and get into this Temu Epstein story, just as I did yesterday, where we covered Temu Epsteins that then became Temu Epstein, and the original idea was to kind of make the Tate story more of a focal point and then cover other Temu Epsteins. We're doing it again because we only ended up getting through Tate yesterday, but we're doing it again, but this time the focal point is Trump. Digging a little bit into old Trump, kind of how he's a little bit of a Temu Epstein of sorts as well, kind of getting into his bromance with old Jeffy Poo. And there's some new information on that front, so let's dig into that. We got some info from Midas Touch on some leaks, apparently on Jane Doe 4. So some missing interview notes that are leaking. So we'll let him tell us what's important about all this and what's going on.
Epstein news happening right now, as over half of the missing and withheld Jane Doe 4 FBI 302 notes have been leaked on a Reddit and are now being circulated online. Substack writer Ellie Leonard has done a breakdown of this, provided all of the leaked documents on her Substack. I suggest you go check it out. But these have Trump's name all over them. This is the stuff that details some of Trump's abuse. These are the raw, handwritten notes that Todd Blanche has refused to release. He was given until July 2nd by court order to release them, and they refused to. They had not released them, and now they have leaked online. The DOJ did release the 302 forms regarding Jane Doe number 4, but these are the raw handwritten notes that the FBI took when they were interviewing her. This one details how this victim was taken to New York or New Jersey and was introduced to someone with money, and it was Donald Trump. Now, again, these are allegations. This has yet to be proven. Trump denies all of this. This one talks about a dean at Ohio University, Jim Atkins, being involved, and even talks about Trump again, saying number 6 is Trump's favorite, referring to another alleged victim. These notes detail the first time Jane Doe 4 was with Trump. She says he didn't like her from the get-go, didn't like that I was a boy/girl. This one, everyone details some of the abuse allegedly committed by Trump and then what ensued after, which was threats, years of threats, Now, because I can't figure out exactly when the date these were taken, but they talk about how the threats had increased. Now, presumably this was sometime maybe after Trump's first term as president, maybe during, we're not sure exactly. This is just a little bit of what Trump's former criminal defense attorney and handpicked Attorney General Todd Blanche has been keeping from the public. They did not want us to see this. There is more. NPR estimated that there were roughly around 53 pages of these handwritten notes being withheld. The Trump administration wants to move on from Epstein. They want us to move on from it, but we will not until there is justice for the survivors and until Trump's DOJ fully complies with the law, with the Epstein Transparency Act. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Like, share, spread the word, follow along for more, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
All right, let's take a little bit of this more. A little audio clip there for you from Midas Charisse Lee. I think he's one of the contributors over at Midas Touch. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess I'm just assuming by his name, Midas. I just realized he's following me. That's cool. I'll follow him back. But here's the caption here. It says, over half of the missing interview notes regarding Jane Doe 4 from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation have indeed been leaked on Reddit. A user on the R. Epstein subreddit uploaded a 22-page document, specifically EFTA 0057763, which we're gonna look at some other notes there in a bit, so I'm going to keep that in mind because I'm a little curious if they're dealing with the same one and I'm just an idiot, or if these are separate ones. Containing handwriting FBI interview notes. This is the context of the leaks and missing pages. The federal court ordered the defense to turn over or explain the withholding of handwritten FBI notes from July and August 2019 interviews, which were noticeably missing from the Department of Justice's public document releases. The files were reportedly missing roughly 37 pages. The 22-page leak accounts for more than half of that gap. The core content, or the leaked handwritten notes, focus on interviews conducted with Jane Doe 4, a South Carolina woman who details abuse as a 13-year-old by Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and a third man named Jimmy Atkins. So mentions of Trump in there. So these are leaking online is the claim. Here's something else from Jason Leopold. He is over at a business writer. He's at Business Magazine or whatever, investigative reporter over there. This seems pertinent to all these notes and stuff. New FBI docs released via FOIA show DOJ had a document flag list when it began reviewing Epstein files last year. There are 16 entries that are simply marked POTUS. So they had like a flag list. So this is something we're learning now. Let's follow this quote tweet. So this is Jason. He says, let's go to the top. It says, new FOIA files. So I guess there's been a batch of new FOIA files have dropped. It says, exclusive internal FBI documents shed new light on the government's review of the Jeffrey Epstein files and reveal efforts by the former Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, to connect a British socialite with FBI Director Kash Patel. I'll give that a retweet for those of you who want to look a little bit more into that. So we got some more files that have dropped from FOIAs here. It says, in addition, the documents contain other noteworthy details, including a spreadsheet dated March 25th, 2025, entitled DOJ Document Flag List. The first page labeled Flagged Items List per case per DOJ guidance includes a case number associated with the FBI's 2006 investigation of Epstein by its Miami field office. The inventory shows various documents from the Miami field office's files on Epstein, including several entries that were flagged last year because the files contained classified information and foreign government information. Records that revealed the identities of victims and foreign public figures were also flagged. It shows there are 16 entries on the list where the reason for the flag was simply marked POTUS. So we can show you here an example of this flag list. So those items include magazine and newspaper articles, message pads, phone message books, and one unidentified record. So looks like they're peeling some stuff out from FOIAs that's really starting to shape out our understanding of this a little bit more. So you can see the flag list here. You see all these highlighted things. And it just says POTUS. So there are apparently certain ones that are just Bing POTUS, the end. But moving on, looking at this through a different light, we actually played this clip the other day when we were talking about the when we were talking about the New Mexico stuff, because it seems like what I'm gathering from this is stuff that's being, kind of being fleshed out, a lot of this at least. Maybe not all of it, but I'm sure there's like independent researchers out there that are also like kind of threading a lot of stuff together. But it seems some of the stuff is being shaken out by this New Mexico stuff that's going on right now. The New Mexico's DOJ is suing the federal DOJ for withholding information. That's where a lot of these note stocks come from. We talked about the New Mexico stuff a few days ago, or it might have been last week. And we played this clip, and they mentioned the notes. Figured we'd play it again because we'll be looking at it from a different light, kind of digging into these notes and what they reveal and yada yada. But here is one of the main, I believe it is the main lawyer that's pushing this suit against or I believe she was the originating one, because initially it was started the DOJ, the probe, or whatever. I forget the legal jargon or whatever, but essentially she's the lawyer leading the charge in all this. Here you go.
And some of this is handwritten notes from the FBI agents interviewing victims and also potentially even perpetrators, right?
Well, the FBI handwritten notes implicate Donald Trump. And I don't think it's a secret why they're doing this dance at the DOJ to not release them. They are handwritten notes by 4 different meetings with a victim who alleges when she was 13 she was sexually abused by Donald Trump. That's the allegation. Now, the actual 302s, the official FBI reports, they've been turned over. After much hullabaloo and pushing by media, they were turned over. Why aren't you turning over these handwritten notes? Well, today, the prosecution said, well, you know what? They're duplicative. That's the first time they've ever said it. Before they said it was substantially similar to the 302s. So what did the judge do today? He said that the handwritten notes must be turned over in camera, unredacted, so that he can check them out, because they continue to refuse to give them to the court.
And of course, President Trump denies any wrongdoing having to do with the Epstein files.
As he does.
Yes, as he does. Thank you so much, Katie Fan. Great to have you.
It's all right. She's mentioning again these notes that he's mentioned in. So let's look again at these notes. Here's a little bit of dig. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Like I said earlier, I'm not entirely sure if this is just normal stuff that we've from the Epstein files. Actually, I think it is, because it shows. I see a link here for justice.gov. So it shows the files. So this is old stuff. So actually, there you go. I've cleared it up for myself right here. But as we're talking about all these notes, it does get a little bit confusing, because obviously there are files that are out there. Now they're clamoring for ones that aren't, and then we have some of these notes, and so we have people that are pointing at, for some reason, all sorts of notes discourse going on these days. And it gets a little bit confusing keeping track of what notes are you even trying to get. The notes we're looking at right here in this specific example are actually, I believe, just notes that people have just kind of uncovered, and they just mentioned Donald Trump. These aren't even the ones I believe that they're referring to here that we've been talking about, the ones they're really trying to get. For example, like the 16 ones being flagged, or the other ones, from the notes that they're trying to pull from the New Mexico probe. But here's a couple examples of some of the crazy notes in here. Here's someone who says someone at the DOJ is definitely getting fired for forgetting to redact Donald Trump's name from this file. And it just shows in cursive, Jeffrey Epstein, my testimony places Donald J. Trump as a person involved in the, can't really make it out, sale maybe, of young women to the sex trophies. Let's ask Rock on this one, because these are a little bit hard in cursive, but it's this sex trafficking ring of Jeffrey Epstein, and I can't make out the last word. I'm assuming that one's somebody's name. I don't know, whatever. I think we figured out most of it. So Jeffrey Epstein, my testimony places Donald J. Trump as a person involved in the sale of young women to the sex trafficking ring of Jeffrey Epstein and Saudis. That's an S. That's Saudis. So, all right, cool. By the time Grok even finally rolled out, I figured it out. I am better than the machine. Continuing on, here's another note I thought was worthwhile. We'll probably need Grok for this one, because this one's a little rough. But we'll take our own attempt here before Grok figures it out. It says President Trump can stand in the I'm already stumped at something way and have let me see if let's ask it. Can you provide the transcript? Let's ask it the transcript right now, because this is some ridiculous. This is a ridiculous cursive right here. So it's asked it to provide a transcript. Give it a moment. This is one of the times I'm thankful for AI for dumb shit like this. Here we go. Says, so it's first page. Okay, so the one we just read, here you go again for a clearer version. And AI confirming I'm not retarded. Jeffrey Epstein, my testimony places Donald J. Trump as a person involved in the sale of young women. So whoever did that didn't know, sale to the sex trafficking ring of Jeffrey Epstein and Saudis. And this other page right here, it says Donald Trump can stand in the doorway and have a clear view of me naked and my knees on the mattress. Donald Trump says, you said she is pregnant. She doesn't look pregnant. George says she is. My dad took her to Army doctor and he estimates she is 2.5 months pregnant. Trump asks, is she on drugs? George says, yes. Trump says, we don't like for them to be pregnant because we lose money. A doctor could cause her to miscarry, or if the child is good looking later, we could sale the baby. You said she is religious, like Saudis, like the religious ones. We'll figure it out. You will take her. It says these are faithful transcriptions. Let's see what Grok had to say too, so we can get more specifics and make sure we're accurate on what these ones are. These depict detailed FBI interview notes, describing graphic scenarios. This surfaces during 2026 court-ordered releases. So I think maybe the first one we read was one of the ones from the Epstein files, because it did actually have an EFTA link next to, or below it. Make sure this one doesn't. No, there is none in the link here that I'm seeing. So this is where judges have pressed the DOJ on withholding or redacting. So this actually might be, but this does seem a little bit over the top. This might be one of the ones that was released from the Reddit release we were just talking about, perhaps. But sounds pretty incriminating. I definitely would want more context. It's not incriminating. I'd want more context. It's definitely implicating at the very least. And as much as MAGA likes to act like there's nothing on Trump in here, like there's plenty of things in Trump on here. You may not think they are legit, but there are all sorts of allegations, all sorts of implications. So would like to see a little more info on those notes. And kind of along this same line, here's Leah Files with an interesting dig. Kind of makes you wonder if perhaps some more Jeffrey Epstein shenanigans are occurring. Let's dig into this one. It says the government just gave a charity being sued for sex trafficking a $244 million no-bid contract to provide lawyers to migrant kids. Put it out Friday night with no announcement. They are keeping this quiet, and for a good reason. It's the Sound of Freedom charity, Our Rescue, OUR Rescue, formerly known as Operation Underground Railroad. They have 0 immigration lawyers, 0 federal contracts ever, and their lifetime federal history is one transaction. This one. So it's the one federal transaction they've ever had is this, and they're getting a $244 million no-bid contract for immigration lawyers when they don't have any. The kids' real lawyers, the government owed them $65 million and refused to pay unless they handed over the children's confidential files. They refused and their contract died. She says, I spent 2 days following the money and it's dark. A Dubai shell company, the founder's family on the payroll, contractors listed as anonymous individuals, and a DC company registered 13 months before the contract with the CEO named as beneficial owner. They knew. So I figured we'd dig into that a tiny bit over on Substack. I don't want to belabor it too much. Let's dig into this piece. This is the Leah Files, the Sound of Freedom charity. Just got $244 million to protect migrant kids. So let's dig into this. It says the contract appeared on a federal database late Friday night with no press release from the Department of Health and Human Services and no announcement from the recipient. 5 days after winning the largest award in its history, the organization still had not publicly acknowledged it on its own website. The paperwork itself is short. Contract 7571 MN26C00029, signed August 7th, 2026. Recipient Our Reserve, OUR, of Sandy, Utah. Amount obligated $158,124,790. With a ceiling of $244,658. Purpose legal services for unaccompanied immigrant children in federal custody. The kids who cross the border alone and then face a deportation judge in many cases before they are old enough to read. The government's shorthand for the program sits in the description field. Legal Services Bridge 2.0. The public award record shows one offer received and says the contract was awarded under the federal unusual and compelling urgency exception to full and open competition. That exception does not erase competition requirements entirely. Federal rules still require an agency to request offers from as many potential sources as practicable or under the circumstances, and to support the award with a written written justification and approval. That leaves an unanswered question. How many potential providers did HHS contact before receiving its single offer? Who were they? And why was OUR Rescue selected from the sources the agency considered practicable? Our rescue has never held a federal contract, grant, or award of any kind. Its entire relationship with the United States Treasury consists of this one transaction. And they're showing pages on usaspending.gov, kind of backing this up. If the name Our Rescue means nothing to you, its old name will. Until 2024, this was Operation Underground Railroad. So I don't think we'll read all of this, but let's at least dig into this operation. This is the one that you guys may remember did the podcast circuit on all the big shows not too long ago. They made that one movie, The Sound of Freedom, I think it was called, with Jim Caviezel. All the boomers were like super, super horned up about it. Like, oh my God, this is... oh my, they're saving the goddamn kids. And like, then you look into it and you're like, this shit fucking glows. It was like the most glowy, like, herder, I'm a fucking, it was like, who was that guy we talked about? It's not Karl Marx, it was Victor Marx. Remember that like guy, I forget what state he was in. He's like basically that guy. Like, he's like, remember all his claims about like, well, I served the Lord, and I killed my first man at 8 years old, and I travel over to Venezuela 3 times a year, and we save about 20,000 kids every other week, and it was like this clearly like, I don't know, just crazy claims, weird glowiness, this like paramilitary element, this weird Christian element as well to it, philanthropic element. But then you start digging into it, and you're like, what are these guys even doing? Never really did a full dig into it, but I just remember it was like, this shit looks a little fishy. So here's a little bit of the fishy part of it here that we're talking about. It's kind of weird these people are connected to all this. So Operation Underground Railroad was founded in 2013 by Tim Ballard, a former Homeland Security agent who built a career and eventually a movie out of privately funded sting operations against child traffickers in Latin America and Asia. The movie was Sound of Freedom with Jim Caviezel playing Ballard. Came out on July 4th, 2023. Made about $250 million and got a private screening at Donald Trump's Bedminster Club with Ballard in the room. For one summer, he may have been the most celebrated man in conservative America. There was serious talk of him running for Mitt Romney's Senate seat. What the audiences that summer didn't know was that Ballard had already resigned. He left Operation Underground Railroad quietly in June 23, days before the premiere, after an investigation commissioned by his own board concluded he had violated the organization's policies in his conduct with women employees. Man, the bitches, they always get you, don't they? It's not any of the glowiness, it's the ladies that'll always get you. The details came out through reporting by Vice that September, and then in court. 7 women eventually sued. Their accounts describe what they call the couple's ruse, in which Ballard cast women operatives as his wife or girlfriend for undercover missions, and then they allege pressured them into sharing beds and escalating physical contact. I'm sorry, you should laugh. This is actually kind of fucked up. Telling them to stay in character with the fate of trafficked children invoked as the reason they couldn't say no. This reminds me of that movie. I can't remember. Was it The Invention of Lying? With where like this world where people like don't understand lies. Like they just get like it's. And Ricky Gervais just like figures out lying, and then there's this one scene where he goes up to a woman. He's like, "We have to have sex, or the whole world, or the whole world will end." They're like, "Just do we have time to go to a hotel, or do we need to do it right here?" Like this is what it makes me think of. Like I just can't imagine being some operative, like setting up this whole scheme, and like, oh, we're gonna save these kids that are being trafficked by Ecuadorian cartel members, and we're gonna order a hotel, Vicky, and I mean the fate of we really gotta sell this. People really need to believe that you love me and you're my wife, and like. You need to be able to feel it on a chemical level. Come on, Vicky. Do you love the children? Suck my balls. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be having fun with this, but it's just ridiculous. Ballard has denied every allegation. Prosecutors in Salt Lake County reviewed the sexual assault claims and declined to charge him in November 2025, citing insufficient admissible evidence. Utah County declined this spring. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was less circumspect than the prosecutors. In a rare public statement in September 2023, it called his activities morally unacceptable, and Ballard has since said the church excommunicated him. Glenn Beck, one of his oldest patrons, told his audience he felt completely duped. Can you imagine? I didn't realize he was a Mormon. Can you imagine if there was if he was like, he wasn't even actually having sex with these women, like he was just soaking, like the Mormon thing. Isn't that Mormons, right? They do the soaking thing where like they'll literally just put the peener in the old hole, and I think then you get like someone to shake the bed or something. Because it's like this like loophole where like, well, I'm not thrusting, and it's just kind of like, I'm theirs. So, I mean, anyways, yeah, so maybe he was just soaking these broads. So, not still fucked up, but a little less fucked up if you're just soaking. Although, is that more fucked up? I almost feel like if I was a broad, this would feel more violating if you got soaked as opposed to soaked in a different way. One case that was very much alive and is the reason the August 7th contract deserves more scrutiny than his gun. October 2024, 5 women filed a federal lawsuit in Utah against Ballard and against the organization itself, alleging sex trafficking and forced labor under the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act. That statute is not incidental to the story. It's the same law that obligates the government to provide unaccompanied children with counsel, the legal foundation of the very program OUR Rescue was just hired to run. The government has now awarded a major contract within that child protection framework to an organization currently defending itself against federal trafficking and forced labor allegations. And I see the next subtitle here is Haiti, which anyone knows the history of Haiti and child trafficking should perk you up a little bit, but we won't dig into that. You guys can feel free to go do that on your own. Go check out, what's this lady's name again? I just came across her recently, Leah. The Leah Files, I believe, is her Substack and her Twitter account. But moving on to another Temu Epstein, we have this other guy who's found himself positioned in the halls of power, Mike Caruso. We talked about him just briefly over on Already Dead recently. He co-sponsored Florida's 2023 hate crime legislation with old Randy Fine. You can see that fat fuck right here with Caruso. Old Caruso with the small hat, of course. Randy, I guess, forgot his. I don't get the rules there. I know Randy is one of the small hats. He wears it at times. I don't understand the rules on when you do and don't. But either way, he isn't, and the other one is here. But yeah, here he is with also Governor Ron DeSantis there. This is a 2023 hate crime legislation. That same year, he traveled to Israel with DeSantis and Randy Fine. So this guy just got busted for molesting a family member who's a kid. So great. I mean, let's dig through this right here. Here's a little bit of the article. Was it here's another picture of him before we move. Here's another picture of the guy on the left. Kind of looks ghoulish. Looks a little freaky. Kind of get a little bit of the physiognomy vibes from here, but yeah, it says, the bill that okay, this is just the bill that he pushed right here that they're showing. Moving on, or not moving on, I'm still in the same one. Here's Max Blumenthal digging a little bit into it. Here's him quote tweeting somebody named the main wonk, says more on Florida GOP, Mike Caruso, he's accused of molesting 2 generations of his family members, so literally multiple generations of his family. Absolutely atrocious. Trauma cycles are real. Under the new pedophilia law in Florida, which his supporter Caruso could face execution for these crimes if tried and convicted. Here's a statement of probable cause right here. It says the victim of the matter is redacted. A male child born redacted resides in Orange County, Florida. The defendant, Michael Caruso, is 67 years of age and resides in Palm Beach County. Oh, Palm Beach. Yeah, that's where old Donnie's at, ain't it? The defendant is a paternal grandfather of redacted. Seems to be a lot of this over in Palm Beach. That's where Jeffy was at, too. At all times, materials affidavit, Caruso was 18 years of age and older, and victim was less than 12 years of age. During the period charged, Caruso enjoyed regular and unsupervised access to victim by virtue of his position as a family member, including periods alone with a child in Orange County and Palm Beach County and aboard a family vacation in August 2025. On or about August 22nd, 2025, or October 22nd, I don't want to say August there, my bad. Victim's father redacted observed victim engaging in sexualized behavior with victim's younger brother. Ugh. Specifically redacted observed victim placed in testicles and, oh, God. All right, this is awful. Put his members on the... So he literally basically kind of the way it's being framed here is he walked in on the two young brothers essentially diddling each other, which makes you wonder what the fuck's going on in that house. But, you know, he immediately intervened, and victim told Redacted that when on a family cruise in the summer, his grandfather, Caruso, placed his you-know-what in his mouth and peed. And it was gross. It was nasty, says the kid. Victim further disclosed that he showered with Caruso after. Gross. Redacted contacted law enforcement from Orange County or interviewed victim after being qualified. The victim identified to law enforcement 2 separate occasions during which Caruso abused him. Occasion Thanksgiving and occasion during the family cruise in August 2025. The interview was recorded and reviewed by your affiant. During the interview, law enforcement learned that the victim disclosed additional acts of abuse on or about November 1st, 2024, and through days before Thanksgiving. He took the victim fishing in a pond near Redacted, and Caruso and the victim were alone. Victim disclosed that during this outing, Caruso touched and tickled the victim's, you know what. Victim also disclosed... Oh, shit. I didn't mean to do that. Victim also disclosed that during... the honor about Thanksgiving Day at a residence located Redacted, Caruso was alone with the victim while playing soccer. The victim disclosed that during this occasion, Caruso fondled the victim's penis and intentionally exposed his own to the victim. The victim further disclosed that Caruso engaged him in a game the victim called Tickle Monster. All right, you guys get the idea. It's just awful shit. So this is one of the guys that's leading the charge on anti-Semitism, and God forbid you mention anything about it, because of course that'd be anti-Semitism, wouldn't it? Let's check in on another person connected to the halls of power, perpetrating horrors on the public. Here's another one from Ken Silva. Here says an FBI scientist referenced below was pled guilty. The sentencing is in November. He's referring here to a former FBI employee who pled guilty for advertisement of CSAM and possession of CSAM. Is from the U.S. Department of Justice, IG. This is on August 4th, 2026. A former FBI supervisory microbiologist previously assigned to the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, pled guilty to 1 count of advertisement for CSAM and 1 count of possession of CSAM. Carrie Rue pled guilty in the Eastern District of Virginia. According to the statement of facts in support of the guilty plea, Rue did knowingly make or publish or cause be made or published in November 2025 a notice and advertisement seeking and offering to receive, exchange, produce, display, distribute, and reproduce a visual depiction, the production of which visual depiction involved the use of a minor engaged in a sexually explicit conduct, knowing that the advertisement would be transported using interstate and foreign commerce. In addition, on or about April 8th, 2026, Rue knowingly possessed at least one matter on an Android Galaxy 2020 or S22 cell phone containing a visual depiction of CSAM beginning in at least November 2023. Rue saw, received, and stored thousands of images and videos of CSAM on that same phone. The investigation is being conducted jointly by the OIG's Washington office and the FBI. So this is over in Quantico. So over in Quantico, over at the FBI lab. So, that's a whole other. I mean, isn't that FBI? Isn't Quantico where they keep I forget the name of it, but there's like they literally have a repository of like every bit of CSAM they ever collect. The government literally keeps essentially a copy of it. So they have the largest repository, the largest library of child porn there is. As far as we're aware as well, who knows? Maybe there's some other crazy champ out there that's being the record. It's not like they really post these or anything. It's hard to keep track of those sort of records, but you assume it's the government, it's everyone. But anyways, that obviously opens. I'm wondering if that's over at Quantico where they have that at. I wouldn't be least bit surprised if that's where that office is at. So that would open a whole other sinister door of what the fuck is going on here. It would be kind of like a kid in a what's the expression? Like a kid in a playground. I guess that works, but I was looking for a better euphemism. Flying shit. There you go. It'd be like a flying shit over there. This guy. So we got it fed there, busted. Is a federal grand jury indicted Carrie and Andre Rue on Thursday of 2 counts of CSAM, 1 count of transportation, and 1 count. Yes, this is a FBI employee in Quantico, kind of limited on information as of right now. So maybe more coming out later. So advertising, that's interesting. It looks like they're posting about it. Let's see if this one's paywalled now. Let's take a little bit of this, see if we can get more information. Let me see. Here's the article. Yes, Carrie Andre Roux. They began looking for her in September after Google submitted cyber tip line reports for the National Center of Missing Exploited Children involving email account associated with him. Investigators say the report involved more than 50 files of suspected CSAM uploaded to Google Drive. So he's just throwing that bitch up on Google Drive. That's wild. Because Google Drive, that's a cloud, right? I mean, I know I'm like technologically retarded, but like it is meant to be private, but it is also like just up there. Like you would think if you were some sicko that's into child porn, you'd have like a thumb drive or something. Like you wouldn't just be dropping that shit on the cloud. But either way, he did, or Drive or whatever. Oops, I don't know what I just did there. Sorry, I clicked an ad. Federal authorities later obtained a search warrant for files connected to the reports. Macaron wrote. Worked as a supervisory microbiologist for the FBI and held the top secret security clearance, lived in Stafford, maintained an office and FBI facility in Quantico. So a lot of this was on the cell phone, I guess. Yeah, it sounds like that's about the gist of it. Just lots of porn. I mean, maybe we'll find out more here. I wouldn't expect much more, to be honest, though. I have a feeling they'll probably be pretty mum about all of this. But either way, one of their own, one of the glowies busted for old CP. So a little inside look. And like I said, I want to kind of look into it, see where I forget the name of it. Maybe one of you guys in the chat will remember. Feel free to chime in there if you remember the name of that, like where they keep all the CP, because I almost would put money on it. It's probably at Quantico. But with that, let's roll the chat, say some more good mornings, and then we will get into the last segment of the day, the Trump Assassination Platform Policy Shadow Games. I know quite the loaded title there, but we'll get into it. Let's check in on you guys. John Black says, where the Candy Hook versus Olive Jar Epstein debate? Oh, that's not happening. I wonder why we're getting PSYOP versus Fed slop as if actual shit that matters. I don't give a fuck about CK. Big facts, homie. Good morning, Bug Fights. Says you, sup, John. Oh, he's making fun of you guys. By the way, John, what's going on with I saw you in the chat the other day and already did. I don't know if you want to fill in everybody else what's going on with you. I saw an update. I don't want to keep pulling your shit out there, but if you do, feel free to chime off in the chat. I guess I would kind of like a little bit of clarification how you're doing. Good morning, OG Matzo Balls. Because I thought I saw you say something in the chat. I guess if you do want to provide more, I would like more information to get clarification to make sure you're good. Good morning, OG Matzo Balls. Good morning, Afa Haras. Saying good evening, though. It's evening over for you there across the pond. Good morning, JMS. Good morning, Bobo. Good to see you here. Saying good morning to all of you tards. Good morning, Bobo. Good morning. Remind you guys to hit that like button. Yes, please do. What else we got? Good morning, Marty McFly. Saying, what's up, Jose? I haven't been able to join live for a while, but you are here, and that's what matters, Marty. Good to see you here, brother. Hope you're enjoying the show. Good morning, Charles Adams. Saying, oh my God, hi, Jose. TG for life. Was it Never Back Until I Die? I got to say that really quick. Just for the YouTube censors. Good morning. And it kind of almost happened too with that guy. All right. Good morning, Tilla Spook. It's been a while since I've seen you here. Reminding you guys to go to the Marcionite Church of Christ.org if you are looking for spirituality of the based variety. Although I'm not religious, but I will say that it is more. It's based. I'll give it that. It's super based. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the last segment of the day. The Trump Assassination Platform Policy Shadow Games just rolls off the tongue, right? I couldn't really think of a better one for me. It's just a lot of big words. Doesn't really flow well, but I actually have a piece from Ken to dig into. But before we get into that, we had recently gone into a couple of these like FOIAs that had come out recently in regards to Thomas Crooks. We covered some of them, but we missed some of them. There's more he covered. He says, I glossed over perhaps the most significant record the first time. So essentially, we've already gone through one of these threads. We went through this thread right here the other day. We covered some of these maybe like a week or so ago. There were some he left out, so I figured we could dig a little bit into that before we get into his full-on piece. So it's like glossed over perhaps the most significant record the first time reading this new batch of FOIAs that came out regarding Crooks. According to this record, Crooks was seen at a political event on July 11th, 2 days before Butler, with an unknown male who was talking about commies, in quotes. Give this a retweet. Definitely check that out over on my page. We'll just look at the highlighted portion of the 302 here. It says, redacted observed a male who he was 99% sure to be Thomas Crooks in the parking lot, pulling signs of a vehicle. Redacted was not positive of the wording of the signs, but believed the topic was keep Trump out of office. Crooks did not say anything to Redacted, did not say anything to Crooks. Redacted told us an unknown male with Crooks made some verbal reference to commies while sitting in a truck near Redacted. So, obviously don't know exactly what happened here, but I mean, just kind of roughly makes it sound like he wasn't quite the deranged liberal people are making him out to be. It kind of makes you think maybe more the other side of the aisle. It says the person who saw Crooks with the unknown male didn't know it was Crooks until after Butler, meaning that it might be a false sighting. However, someone else who went to high school with Crooks saw him at the same event. The sighting looks legit. So here's another 302, another person backing this up. Says, Redacted, who was working the event July 11th, 2024, described a large party on the rear patio, having about 50 attendees. Redacted was exiting Redacted to take out trash when he encountered Crooks in the parking lot. Redacted observed Crooks and knew him from school. So, another backing up that as well, seeing him there. And the FBI also interviewed a third person who confirmed that a peaceful Democratic political event was indeed held on July 11th, 2024. So here we go. It says, note, interview of Redacted, who confirmed a peaceful Democratic political event occurred on July 11th, 2024, was conducted and will be uploaded in a future communication. End of note. Interview notes will be maintained as a physical 1A. So just kind of another such thing backing up this occasion, giving it more legitimacy. So more information still coming out regarding Crooks. And I mean, how many fucking attempts have we had now? And now we're up to the most recent one, or I guess it depends on how you constitute an attempt. We had the recent thing that got leaked. I think it was like a month or so after the fact. It got leaked we're not quite entirely sure how it got leaked, but it did get leaked. So it just kind of makes you wonder why are these things getting leaked. But either way, information recently came out, and sleuths were able to go look at the online video and be able to tell that, yeah, that looks like that's what happened. That, a while back, Trump went to Turkey. There was apparently intel that there was an assassination attempt afoot, and he essentially escaped out the aircraft that he was supposed to go on, Air Force One, and slipped into some catering truck. So that's where we're at in the most recent. We're like a ridiculous ad nauseum amount of plots or supposed plots. Later, here we are, and we're still not even quite, understanding what the fuck happened the first time. And we're still at the point where these things that we're struggling to even understand what the fuck is going on here, because they're coming so fast over and over and over again. But these things are directly affecting world events. Serious world events are affecting your pocketbook, your wallet, your whatever. And I mean, it feels almost intentionally designed to be this way, where they come at you so quick that no one can ever get to the bottom of any of them. And then, by the time the next one comes, you're still investigating the thing from 3 times ago. But a little bit of a look into this, and also a little plug for the homie. I didn't know he had a Substack, but apparently Ken Silva does have a Substack. This is kensilva.substack.com. So I'm assuming this is probably where he's dropping any of his writings that probably he doesn't feel are appropriate for a full-on article, say if it's more editorialized or whatever. But either way, we're digging into one now. So definitely check that out. Highly recommend any of Ken's work. It says, it looks like Trump restarted the war with Iran over a phony assassination threat. It says, widespread news by now that Trump was smuggled off of Air Force One in a catering truck last month while departing Turkey. A move made after the Secret Service received intelligence from Israel that Iranian proxy forces were plotting to attack his jet with surface-to-air missiles. The mainstream press has mostly focused on the fact the reporters were left on board Air Force One amidst the threat, ostensibly making them flying decoys, while Trump secretly flew on a military craft. Meanwhile, social media users have made hay of the spectacle of it all, poking fun at the notion of Trump being stuffed in a catering truck thanks to Israeli intelligence. But what's gone largely unnoticed is the date this all happened. July 8th, the same day Trump tore up the Memorandum of Understanding with Iran and resumed open hostilities. In other words, it really looks like the Israelis convinced Trump, again, that Iran was trying to kill him, and that Trump decided to launch the war as a result. While it may have restarted a war, there's no evidence the latest threat to Trump was legitimate. According to Middle East Eye, Turkish officials suspected Israel fabricated the intelligence to derail diplomacy between the U.S. and Iran. The Washington Post also reported that the CIA made a similar assessment of the matter, viewing the Israeli intelligence as low confidence. The New York Times, too, reported that some U.S. officials believed that the Israeli intelligence was intended to convince Trump to escalate his war against Iran. Meanwhile, no arrests have been made in Turkey, a NATO ally, in connection to the supposed Trump assassination plot, nor have any witnesses or other documentation emerged. Therefore, if you're keeping score, last month's plane switch would mark at least the fourth instance of a phony Iranian assassination plot against Trump, at least two of them stemming from Israel. The first three are detailed in Chapter 5 of my book, The Trump Assassination Plots, What the Investigation Missed and What It Might Matters. So I'm proud of that chapter. Dare I say it's become essential reading for anyone who wants to understand Trump's motives for attacking Iran and how, as the July 8th plane switch underscores, the Israelis have exploited these motives to their own ends. And I would recommend that as well. And I would agree it is essential reading for the Trump assassination plots. Expect a sequel from him at some point, probably, with as many as these keep rolling out over and over again. Somebody's got to do it, although I would like to see him tackle the federal infiltration of right-wing groups, of antiquity, essentially the modern era version of that. I would love to see that book instead, but hey, somebody's got to do it. I really wish, as I'm reading this, I really wish I'd paired this with some Stalin coverage, because I forget how many times. Let's ask Grok. This is one of the times. Let's ask Grok how many fake assassination plots were there on Stalin? Because I'm curious who's winning now, because it would have been good to pair a little bit of info with that. For those who are unaware, there were fake assassination plots for Stalin. This seems to be it feels weird to see it in modern day, it playing out, because assassinations are these crazy occurrences, and you're like, holy shit, these are. Before all this Trump nonsense, it was like JFK, which is like anyone like me, a 34-year-old, that's not even in my lifetime. But now it's gotten to the point where it's just become this like regular tactic. It seems, I don't know if we've gotten there where everyone's like, there's some sort of, I'm not saying everything's fake, but at the very least, these things are being, being used at the very least. Let me look. So let's look up Stalin. Let's see how many fake assassination attempts there were. Let's see who's winning. What do you put your money on it? Who do you think? Do you think Stalin or Trump? We have fourth instance of a phony Iranian assassination plot. But even then, I'm like, what are we considering of assassination plot? Man, Grok is taking forever. May just move on past for that. Whatever. We can check back in on that in the chat. I don't care that much. Actually, never mind. Just kidding. Roughly 10 to 12 attempts or plots are commonly listed as officially registered across his time in power, mixing real incidents, unexecuted plans, mere suspicions by his guard/entourage, and fabrications. Some accounts speak of dozens of known cases, many of them invented by the secret police to eliminate rivals or justify purges, while others being post-war myths or still classified. Only about 4 are generally treated as more or less reliable. So there you go. That's what Grok has to say about it. But yes, a little. If you're watching, Ken, maybe in the next book, maybe can include a little note on Stalin. Be a fun little parallel in history. But with that, let's roll in the chat. Say some more good mornings, and then we will get on out of here. See what you guys got to say, and then we'll get out of here. Remember the intro. Nancy. I already forgot her name. Nancy Grace, or is that the loud bitch on TV? I forget. Whatever. Nancy Mace, I think, something like that. Whatever. But anyways, remember her when we go to the outro. Keep her firmly in your mind as the archetype of the woman that you'll be seeing. And if you're a young man, watch out for it. But with that, let's roll the chat. Say some more good mornings. Kid in a candy shop. That's the euphemism I was looking for there, Charles Adam. Thank you. There's John Black. It says I have a little brain tumor. There. I didn't want to say that, but I also was like, I want to know if it's like cancerous or anything about it. It says, but who doesn't? If it makes me less retarded, I'm not letting them cut it out. Seriously, it's not bad. Well, I guess that's the issue there, because it is a brain thing, so they probably would have to biopsy to even be able to tell if it's cancerous. Aside from like just scanning regularly, I'd assume. I mean, you probably have definitely talked to doctors and they've filled you up in all this stuff. I'd assume that's the shtick. You probably won't even be able to tell without some sort of intrusive surgery, which obviously I don't know where the tumor is in your brain. And let's be real, you probably are leaning against the old intrusive surgery, I would guess. So maybe just regular scans is the plan, John. I don't know. Feel free to let us know. So here's John Black. 2 retarded to stop, 2 autistic to start. Yeah, nailed it. Fire Pixie says I want a shirt with that saying. Right. That does kind of fuck, doesn't it? Yeah. Tilla says live chat issues. Anyone? I'm seeing you here. So. All right. But anyways, all right, we're done. That's it, guys. I do got a little plug, a little reminder. If you guys want to support the show, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at TowerGangJose. Everywhere else, it's a No Way Jose podcast. And if you want to support the show the best way you can do it with money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Over in the top left-hand corner, that's where you can do it at. Or like I said, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020 takes the same place. At the low level, $2, you get a whole host of perks. I know I've been really bad about the paywall stuff lately, but usually the shtick is 1 to 2 a week, and I honestly usually I'm pretty good about keeping it closer, keeping it more 2 than 1. But I think it's like the past week or two we've had 0, but we do have 1 tonight. I do the Years of Lead, the one with Austin. We had to reschedule, so we'll do that again. We're still planning on talking about The Wicker Man for those looking forward to it, just at a later time. So just the 1 Years of Lead episode this weekend, or not this weekend, but tonight. Also, if you want to, you get the ad-free RSS feed, you get the Telegram, you get the pre-show, the post-show, the video calls, the live weekly call-in show. There's also other paywalled stuff. Like I keep like 3 to 4 behind at any time. There's like 2 Waco episodes with Austin that have been sitting there for forever. I'm just waiting until Jacob gets around to editing one of them, because there's like some dead air at one point. So I'm just waiting for some editing, some minor editing. But yeah, so there's plenty of goodies back there. You also can be part of the Telegram, the pre-show, the post-show, the video calls, and the live call-in, or the live. You can be part of the live call. God, what am I saying that wrong? The pre-show, the post-show, and the video calls. That's what I meant to say. I'm fucking retarded. On our live call-in show, already dead, on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Also, give a big shout out to High Slum, my Patreon, as a big thank you for their support. And my previous ghost and tagging at Learner Toad. Also, at Abrogate D's, at ZVSK, at _Infant Seal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebo, big fan of the show, Torn May, at Wayne Tech, one cover kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Guestbill, Jacob Norgad of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast, and John Black. You beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, check out this last one. And like I said, think Nancy Grace, or not Nancy, whatever the fuck, the bitch with the tattoos I'm really bugging me, I can't think of her name, but it doesn't matter, you get it, you understand, you know the vibe I'm talking about, the cougar, you'll get it, you get it. If you're watching, the audio people, not so much, you're not going to get what the fuck I'm getting at here, but I guess a little bit of a word to the young man out there. I know, we know what you're going to do, we know what you're going to do here, like, when you're in the club and you encounter one of these in the wild, there's a reason they call him a cougar. There's a reason. Like you see these mannerisms, these certain behaviors. This is what you call a coke cougar right here. You see these mannerisms? Now, you should really run when you see a cougar, but let's be real, you're not going to. Your lizard brain is going to kick in. Certain things are going to happen. But at a certain point, giving these mannerisms, like certain things are going to happen. Things have been put in motion that cannot be stopped at this point. But I'm just saying, once the motion has occurred, it's time to bounce. Then run. Because, I would tell you run before, but you're not going to. But at the very least, have enough sense to not just, once the motion has occurred, as I said, don't just be looking at her and going, my God, those things you just did. Oh my, what a wonderful woman you are. I love you. Just don't, she will ruin your life. So these are the signs to look for right here. I know you're going to, but it's hard to hold these things at the same time. There's going to be lots of excitement, lots of, oh my God, love, all these different things you think are love, and hormones going on. Just stay strong, young man, stay strong. If you can be strong enough, run away. But I know most of you can't. But if you can't, just once those dreaded chemicals have left your brain that make you make the dumb thoughts, then run. Do whatever you can do, run. But here you go. Without any further ado, here are the specific signs to look for right here. Love you all. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.